Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and the fallout over the chaos related to withdrawal from Afghanistan has created a lot of interesting discussion points. One of them could even be related to Brexit, but maybe we'll leave that for now, maybe forever. But today what I'd like to discuss the claims from our Home Secretary, Priti Patel, as well as some other Tory MPs, who are suggesting that we cannot accept many Afghan refugees. All terribly sad. But it is absolutely nonsense, of course. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So a right mess has been made of things by multiple governments, but my main licence is complaining about my own. If someone claimed that Boris Johnson actually did nothing at all to prepare for the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the Prime Minister gave us nothing to counter such an argument with his woeful performance in Parliament on Wednesday. Essentially, and I'm nothing like an expert on the situation, as far as I can tell, the best thing we can do now is facilitate the asylum of people from Afghanistan who need it. That is the practical thing we can do. This will be a European problem, and our government are not at all shy about saying how other countries should be accepting plenty of refugees, but they're a little bit more coy about our share. We've had the usual right-wing nut jobs, including but not limited to Conservative MPs, trying to claim that we're full. Sorry, we're all full to the brim. We'd love to take more, but we're just full. Somehow, they are very adept at pretending that our population is overheated and that we have no room at the inn. A random right-wing group, and I mean random, didn't actually exist at the start of this year. This group were somehow invited onto national television as if they had any insights. The Centre for Migration and Economic Prosperity. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? Should have a lot of expert academics in that group. No, it's a scam to try and further the nonsense that sold us Brexit. But they tried to say that we would have to build houses to accommodate the number of refugees being talked about. Well, let's see about that. Priti Patel said that we would accept 20,000 refugees, but not all at once, because this is impossible. In 1972, we accepted 27,000 refugees from Uganda all at once, including, very famously, her parents. 250,000 Belgians fled to the UK in 1914. We managed that. So we can immediately debunk the notion that we can't actually manage the logistics of 20,000 refugees. In fact, what the government are actually trying to say is, yes, we've managed way more refugees all at once in the past, but we are so useless that we can't manage it. The country can manage it. We can't. We're that useless. Is that what they're saying? Indeed, we've already shown in the past that we can manage that. We can manage much more. But this is now, Phil. We're much more full now than we were then. Okay, so it's back to that housing rubbish, is it? Fine. According to the House of Commons Library, as of October 2019, which is the latest data we have, there were 648,000 empty homes in England alone. Now, that is by far the biggest chunk of the UK, but that still means there are many more empty homes throughout the nation. Now, some of those are occasionally in use, but there was a figure of 226,000 that were classed as long-term empty properties. That is still way more than we need to house tens of thousands of Afghan refugees, as well as our own homeless. To say nothing of accepting any asylum seekers who arrive by rubber dinghy while we process their claims. How can we consider the country to be full when Parliament has on its own website figures which say we have well over 200,000 homes just sitting empty? Why do we need to build more? We've got over 200,000 long-term unoccupied homes in England alone. England alone. We do have room. What we don't have is a government or media telling people the truth. Then let's try another comparison. Population density. How many people per unit area, essentially? Now, in the League Table of Nations, sure, the UK is well inside the top half of most densely populated. Being fair, there's a lot of parts of the world that are pretty uninhabitable. We're an island. It's a reasonably good island in terms of the resources necessary to live, and we've got a strong economy. So, we're bound to have a reasonably high population density, fair enough, but it's not at the top. You could look at Japan. In square miles, Japan has a population density of 864 to our 727. It's a comparative number. Japan manages with a higher number of people compared to their area of land than we do. Close to home, the Netherlands also has a higher population density, higher even than Japan, quite a lot higher. I think a lot of them must live inside their own clogs, but they seem to be fairly chilled out people, and I don't think the obvious answer to that is the reason. They manage on a density of 1,063 to our 727. That's like nearly 50% higher population density. They manage. So we can't claim to be full on the idea of population density because there are advanced nations who manage with a much larger population for the size of the country. We can't claim that we don't have the housing because we do. House of Commons Library's own figures. It's actually embarrassing just how many homes we have standing empty when we are a wealthy nation with homelessness and an unwelcoming immigration policy. I'll tell you what else is insane. We have huge shortages, job shortage due to our Brexit immigration policy, massive shortages of workers. We've got massive shortages of doctors and nurses in the NHS. I'm going to bet there's quite a few Afghan doctors and nurses who are not going to be on the best terms with the Taliban, especially if they're women. We have shortages of plenty of lower skilled workers. We're short of farm workers, warehouse staff, retail staff, food production staff. Be talking about that one next today. Language will be a barrier in some of these situations, but not in others, and you can cope with a lot of these jobs. And one of the problems we have with these Brexit-related shortages is that our unemployed are not necessarily where the job shortages are most acute. That's the problem. When people go, we've got unemployed people, we've got jobs, why are the two not joining up? Because they're maybe 200 miles apart. The thing about refugees, though, is that you settle them where it best suits the host nation. Oh, we've got a load of jobs up there. You can do these jobs. Brilliant. We'll house you there. We could settle them where the jobs are going. On every level, our resistance is mind-boggling. It's immoral that we are turning away people in desperate need, regardless of the circumstances. It's extra immoral when you consider that those circumstances have included failures of our leadership. And this isn't like Iraq. I'm sick of people saying this is all because we went to war with Afghanistan in the first place. Of course it's not. Afghanistan is now the same as it was before that invasion. It was already at war. The only difference is that we had a period where life was safer for some people there, many people there. Not safe in the sense that we'd understand it, but safer. But never mind that. Sick of arguing the toss on that one. Bugger it. The fact remains that despite American failures, we could have unilaterally made the situation less bad than it is now. We didn't. We have a moral duty to offer more than our fair share to put it right, quite frankly. But that's just the morality of it. I couldn't decide whether to say morality or moral side of it. Same thing. But I mean, I don't expect that to cut much ice with like Patel, Swain, Johnson and the likes. But from a purely mercenary point of view, which you think would appeal to them, the government want to sound tough on the EU. No freedom of movement. No, it's our freedom of movement you're hurting. No freedom. The EU are the source of all evil, according to these clowns. They're quite happy to talk up associations around the world. Oh yeah, we absolutely want to join with a rules-based trading bloc in the Pacific, just not in Europe. But if we could just pretend that the rest of our continent doesn't exist, that'd be marvellous. Could you do that, please? We just want to pretend that Europe doesn't exist, apart from us. But this brainless series of policies creates a problem. It means that we've lost our ready supply of workers. Without enough workers to power our economy shrinks. That's how it works. Here we have a golden opportunity to replace at least some of that workforce. At the end of the day, it is a well-established fact that migration is good for our economy. Always has been, going back well over 1,000 years. Britain has always enjoyed the fruits of immigration. The Conservatives are going to have to pay the price at some point for the economic deflation that Brexit is bringing. Are they insane in not wanting to smooth the damage out a bit? Because imagine how next year will go. Every news story we hear of crops rotting in the fields. Well, it's a shame we turned down a load of workers who wanted to come into the country. When we can't get medical care due to lack of NHS staff. Well, there were Afghan nurses and doctors we could have saved. All these skills we're lacking in. and could have provided. The refugee crisis is not a good thing, but there is mutual benefit in embracing it, much more so than trying to embrace Brexit, whatever that means. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.